Welcome back then. Hello everybody and welcome to the live Sunday race event. We've just got underway. You can see Pico Speed have a great start. The drag race into turn 1 has officially begun. He's got the inside line. Jaden has to go defensive. Nothing he can do there. Pico Speed gets the lead into turn 1 and he's going to try and retain it as the rest of the field flourish through just behind him, and we are officially racing then for the first event. $100 is at stake for the winner, and Pico Speed raring to go off the line, and you can see how much this means to them trying to pull away though, as you can see just behind them in the background things really starting to heat up, and you can see a bunch of drivers all trying to fight as they're heading towards that chicane, scrambling for track position as they fly through, and it's still looking very clean by the rest of the field at the moment. Absolutely great stuff here so far. So let's see who really can get the most of this track then, because right now it's looking like the leader really spinning to run away with this one. He's going to need to try and keep his head in the game though, because he's got 17 laps, well 15 laps I beg your pardon, to try and keep this going. Pico Speed doing very well here so far. You've got Pro just behind him and the rest of the field fluttering, following away now, so the gap's starting to close just a little bit as they begin to fly through to the end of the first lap. You take a look at Pro Drifter 10, the man in second at the moment, as currently a second clear of Rico in P3, needs to try and keep his eyes set on the leader as the field flows through. Still very clean racing at the moment. They know what's at stake. The last thing you want to do is actually just getting yourself in an incident this early on in the race. You need to try and keep that car as stable as possible, keep those tyres warm and don't lock too many brakes. So they come towards the end of lap 1. There's 2 cars in the wall there, I believe there. The admin spectators got a bit excited there as they flow in towards lap 2 for the first time, and they go in towards turn 1. Jamie looking very comfortable right now. It's got to be said in P4. Razor sits in P5. Rotella just in P6, and a big movement there. There's a car in the background. So now the pressure's starting to get to these drivers as they begin the ascent up the hill now. Looking very strong though. Razor beginning to reel in Jamie, I believe, there a bit. The gap's now just over a second, and you can see just how close he's reading him in. He's got all of that straight to try and pull him in. Now close to got some side-by-side action, I believe, for P7 just behind as they go in towards the chicane. You can see them just a drag race into that chicane trying to hold that inside line. But if you do get the inside line for the chicane, you end up on the outside for the next corner, which can be a little bit of turning ways. You can see Bandito, the man currently in P7 at the moment, doing a good job. He needs to try and set his heights a little bit higher there on Proto. Let's see what he can do. You can see a little bit of lockups, and it's such a tricky corner as well going into that left-hander. The car just wants to snap away from you, but right now doing a good job. You take a look at the man just behind in P8, that's Strogeichler. So what can he do here? Of course, he had a good show at the Dakota event. For those of you who witnessed the event of that one, of course, the winner there got to take an amazing ticket to the first ever Circuit of America's Grand Prix, and of course that's this weekend, so living the life of luxury. I'll see you guys still fight it out for $100, so still no shortage in prizes here this afternoon. And the one man looking like he's going to claim it at the moment is Pico Speed, but he is being chased down there by the man in second. As we take a look at Stuntman Mike, of course, after an appalling qualifying session by his standards, had a little bit of a mess up, and of course that one lap pressure maybe just got to him in that Formula 3 car, as we've said. And that's again the pressure. He's in the water, front wings lost. Can he keep it on track? No. Oh, and a big collision there. And he's gone off at the right place, almost took off Natrox with him. He couldn't even make it back to the pit lane, and that's the second time that I've said it's about the pressure of this session, and the second time he's crashed. I don't think I'll commentate over Stuntman Mike anymore. Very bad luck for him. Elite Speedway a lot lower than he'd like to be. So a premature ending to the race at the moment, and I'm sure we'll be looking to try and capitalise on that, and maybe try and come back going into next week's event. As you can see the man being followed by Samwise at the moment, Natrox. There you can see the rest of the field just in front, trying to get some sort of established grid order as they try and push their way to try and catch Pico Speed, who still actually doesn't have that much of a substantial gap. But if you can take a look at now, the gap between the man you're witnessing in 9th position, Van Panther, and the man Pico Speed is around 18 seconds away. So already a massive gap between himself and the rest of the field behind. But second and third place are definitely in close company. So this race is by no means over, and Pico Speed is going to have a lot to do this afternoon if he wants to retain that lead. But the question is, so how long can you retain it for? Because, you know, as we say, 15 laps of racing is not the easiest thing to do around Watkins Glen. From personal experience, it can get very stressful because the circuit is just so physically demanding, and after around 5 or 6 laps, if you're not used to this kind of pressurable scenario, you'll start to make a few mistakes. As Pro Drift, they've got a little bit loose there as they begin coming in towards the end of the lap. And again, as every time I mention the word mistake, someone seems to have a little bit of moments, some more significant than others, so I'll try and limit the use of that word. But through the final corner, Pro Drifter, the man in second, you can see how hard he's pushing though, by the amount the car is actually oversteering through the corners. He's 5 seconds back from Pico at the moment. There he is going through turn 1 now. He's looking like he's in a good position, but the top 3 still separated by just over 5 seconds. Jamie again keeping them fairly close. He's just around 2 seconds down the road for them, so it's still a very close grid order in that top 5. The rest of the field slowly dropping off though and establishing their own battles. You take a look at Pico now coming in towards the chicane, a great view of the top 5 just behind him, trying to catch him. And they can see some great race information there. 165 corners will be driven overall, but $100 top prize, and that is going to be the one thing which is spurring these 15 giants, if you will, of Sim Raceway on, because it's a massive prize fund, and of course that can really help go towards your sim rig, or maybe some content in Sim Raceway, or whatever you need to spend it on. Definitely is going to aid you as a driver, or I'm sure after the pressure of this race it may even go on a nice cold refreshing drink. But right now Pico's just focusing on keeping that car firmly planted on the racetrack. However, the gap has come down to Pro Drifter 10. It was 5 seconds just through that corner a minute ago. Actually went down to 3 seconds. So it's slowly coming down. We'll see what it is when they come across the start-finish line, because we can't really get an accurate representation until the end of the lap. As you take a look on board with Drifter at the moment, still looking very calm and collected in that car, isn't he? There is just no wobble, there's no fight back from the car. He really has tamed the beast, quite literally. This 5-speed engine car really is a handful as you've established, and I think that Stuntman was or Stunt Mike was the man to, there he is, Stuntman Mike just in the corner, was a prime example of that one. And you can just, so tiny laps of concentration really can implement the rest of your race. But I think Drifter right now has got to be careful, because yes, he is reeling in the lead of Pico. It is down to 3 seconds as they cross the line. But however, he is being caught by Draco. Jamie won again there. Razor now showing his face. So Razor 92 has come alive again. An established sim racer indeed. And the top 5 are beginning to pull away now. Of course, the top 5 do get the biggest cash rewards. So want to try and get as high up the grid as they possibly can when it comes to the end of this race. And Razor right now is trying to slowly reel in Jamie. And he's got a said, he's doing a very good job right now. You can see he's pulling away from Patella in P6. So the top 5 really trying to just extend that gap back to the rest of the field and let them battle amongst themselves. Now I reckon we could see if, for instance, Jamie begins to catch him out in front of him, Pico still gets gained on, then we could maybe even see a 2 or 3 car battle for the lead, which would be absolutely stupendous, especially around a circuit such as this one, which holds up to legendary status around not just America but the whole of the motorsport industry as a whole. And we're seeing a prime example of why today. As you can see, Razor, he is definitely gaining on Jamie. It's an obvious fact, and he's got all this long straight now to try and reel him in. He's going to have to pit straight when they finally get there, but the descent down the hill begins, and it's going to be very, very close now. As you can see, a little chat window to all the drivers who are logged into simraceway.com. On the chat, you can interact, talk about the race, the sim, your experiences, and what you think of the broadcaster. Head over there, you can see all the friendly faces over there at the moment. Great bunch of guys. But right now I'm sure they'll be too eager on the edge of their seats watching this one, because Razor is really beginning to hammer down the pressure on Jamie and just chipping away at that rock of a substantial lead which he's established at the moment. As we take a look on board with it, you've got to be careful, you don't want to run too wide on that grass, because you could unintentionally hit a car, which is now what you see. And you can see a bit of a lock up into turn 1. You can see just how quickly and how swiftly they swoop into it. It's a very difficult corner indeed, no matter what car you choose to fly around this circuit. But he's got to be careful though, because I think Jamie has actually pulled a little bit out on him. The gap currently 2 seconds as they come down this long bit of track now in towards the chicane. Jamie is certainly looking quite comfortable in his race position at the moment, sits in P4. But however, this track is filled with long straights to reel him in. As long as he's better through the corners, he may just have this one signed and sealed. But the thing is, so once that pressure starts to come in and you start losing those tenths of seconds through the straights, then it becomes more of an issue, and then it becomes more about consistency. There you see the man in P9 at the moment, Bandito. What a familiar face around the sim racing paddock, trying to catch Van Panther in P8. The Generate, he's in his own little race at the moment. He's around 2 seconds back from Van Panther and a few seconds further away from Sam Whiting. Rounding out the top 10 at the moment, Sam, so he wants to try and find a little bit more than that as they come towards the end of this race. But of course, still plenty to play for here. And let's see what Bandito can do. He's getting a little bit closer to Van Panther there, but it's not just about getting closer one lap. Because this lap is so long, you've got to keep it doing it consistency. But once you start doing it consistently, you get those couple of laps in, you begin to push over what the car is expected of. And once you start doing that, you go over the car's limits, the car begins to start making mistakes. The tyre temperatures skyrocket, and a bit of a slide there from Piratella as he tries to catch, pull away from Van Panther into his side, on Strongdiver, as they come in towards the final corner of this lap. And there's a yellow flag out, so surely that must be the stuntman Mike car parked along the pit straight. And I'm sure he'll have a great view for the winner coming home today, but I'm sure he would rather be crossing the line and taking that great prize money of $100. And right now, still man in the lead who's led for the opening 7 laps now is Pico Speed. He's got a 33-second lead over the man you're spectating at the moment, who's still actually reeling in Strogethia now. It's a little bit more each lap. It's not by a substantial amount, but it's enough to certainly show your presence and show that almost bit of an intimidation factor as we switch back to race on board through this fast-flowing chicane. Left to right, so easy to lose a car through there. Those anti-car strips can be key. You catch one of those and the car just jackknives in the other direction, and that's one thing you never want to experience in sim racing, let alone real life. There's a bit of a lock-up again from the man in P3 at the moment, and Jamie's going to have a great view of that one. And this is even an Alien Razor a bit, because you can even see third and second just in front. But the one man I think this is going to aid the most is Pico Speed, because these 4 are getting extremely close together now. You can see the lock-up marks from the car just in front of you. They're separated by around 3 seconds, which is nothing at all really when you think about it. And this is allowing Pico Speed to just slowly pull away into the distance and not worrying. There's a very wide running Jamie there, but it's just allowing him to run away into the distance and not have to worry about what's transpiring behind him, because they're so caught up in worrying about each other that their pace begins to drop because they take the defensive line. And because of that, that actually helps Pico Speed, because he can just drive that fast line he knows he can, because it's got into that front row of the grid in the first place, and try and keep the car in the lead of the race. Take a look once again at the man in P7 at the moment, Piratella. Let's see. Oh, a very, very wide run off that final corner. And that's one thing you don't do too often, because it shakes you as a driver. But the car will be more prone to go there once you've made a mistake once, because you worry as a driver that you don't want to make it again. You don't want to put the car in the same position. But by trying to avoid it, you often end up actually replicating it more than avoiding it. So you've got to be very careful about how he goes about this one. But right now, still trying to catch Van Panther is Bandito. He's in 9th position at the moment. But still, though, 9th position is very respectable. You cannot knock him for where he is, because if you take a look at the actual prize money list, 9th position still does get you $10, so you still can't complain. To be honest with you, you'll be loving the fact that you should have with a shout for some prize money, but of course you would love to be up there battling for the lead. But to accomplish that goal, he has to try and get his way past Van Panther. He's slowly gaining on him. But Van Panther as well is going to be a little bit wary of what's going on behind him, because he's got that massive black blur. Of course, all these cars using the same livery, so you can't tell one apart from the other. So it's still that black blur just behind now, slowly reeling in, and it's going to be a bit familiar, but also a bit worrying as well, because the same car going to be up in front. And it also, of course, these guys still very close friends on and off the track, but as soon as they hit the tarmac, they do become rivals. And again, a bit of a moment there for Jamie as Razor continues to apply the pressure, and he's slowly gaining on him, isn't he? Those tenths of seconds are just cutting away now. He's like just a man cutting through a rainforest. Those branches are coming down until eventually he'll hit a clearing. When he hits that clearing could very well be a 4th position. And they're coming towards turn 1 once again. I'll be hoping to make it next time. The gap now just over a second as they enter turn 1. See Draco just in front in P3. There's Jamie, and there is Razor 92. The man who has firm control over this battle at the moment. Is up to him and his pace really, which will dictate what direction this battle goes. Will it end in both these guys staying in their respective positions? There are further 17 seconds clear of the man in P6. That just shows you the sheer pace of these guys as they head in towards the chicane, but also 16 seconds clear from Pico Speed. So they really are losing a bit of time now to Pico, as exactly as I anticipated, that he does start to pull away when these 4 close in on each other. But that, of course, leaves us with a very exciting battle as we're on lap 9 out of 15. for these guys to all kind of sort themselves over as to who's going to get which position. All of them want that final podium position, but of course second place is up for grabs as well, and not too far out of reach for Razor, providing he can get his game on. So let's see what he can do from here, and as we've said before, consistency really is the key, so he needs to try and start hammering away those sector times as he's doing, and as you can see how close he is to the back of Jamu that time round. He really is gaining on him now as into the final part of this circuit. One more time, swooping up the hill before turning the car swift left. And that's one place you don't want to pass. From experience, it gets very tight through there. There's a little bit of runoff, but you've got to be very particular about where you place your car. And what Razor could be doing now is actually kind of gaining a little bit of information in terms of what Jamu's doing, because it seems that he's doing a fairly good job at the moment, and the lines he's driving are not only defensive, but they're also the fastest way around the circuit. So he's got to anticipate where can he push Jamu offline and try and make a new mistake right now, because as soon as he starts applying the pressure, then the line changes can come, and that's when you can really try and open the door for an opportunity. But you've got to try and anticipate where your opponent is going to go, and to do that you just need to try and look at that track information. If he parks his car a bit closer, not so much goes for a move, but just sends it to the inside a little bit, get some clean air under that rear wing, and see what he does with the car. And that could be the logical thing, as through goes as Van Panther, have a little bit of a moment just in front. And through turn one, that's one thing never want to do. You take a look at Elite Speedway now getting very, very feisty on the back of Natrox 213, really leading him in now up the hill. This should be a straight set manoeuvre. He's darting all over the place. Natrox still defiant to let him have that inside line, forcing Elite Speedway. Look at that, great defending by Natrox. He will not relinquish that inside line. Elite Speedway forced round the outside, and still he's pushed. What a great defensive manoeuvre there. But he slides over the curb, he's off, and Natrox is off. Oh, that was just such bad luck there. Heroic defensive driving, careful where you get back on. He's lost a place to Lauren Fox. Oh, and that's catastrophic. That was a great defensive manoeuvre, reluctant to give away that inside part of the circuit, and just, oh, that is catastrophic for him. There's no damage to the car. That I cannot believe Lucky has been so good there to hold off Elite Speedway, and those guys would have had an absolutely tremendous battle around this Watkins circuit as we go into the final 5 laps now, but it just wasn't to be his day. But one man who is hoping it will be his day is Pro Drifter. He's currently 17 seconds clear of Pico Speed, and really needs to find something if he wants to try and take the win of this race. So we'll see what he can do, but right now though, it's definitely looking like it's going to be a Pico Speed victory. And there you see the Pro Drifter, the man in P2 at the moment. Pico Speed still holding that lead. There is the man in third place who's effectively remained untouched for the majority of this race. He's currently, as we usually say, Dream's looking extremely competitive right now. But a bit of a gap now with Jamu, who's actually pulled a little bit of time out over Razor, which could very well be key, because Razor, after been pushing a bit harder, made a little mistake somewhere along the line when he's actually a little bit further away now. He's still clinging onto the into the back of him by no stretch of the imagination, but he's not as close as he was just a few laps ago. So there he is. You can see the rest of the field. It's interesting to see that little panoramic track view on the right hand side of your screen. You can see just how close the cars are to each other, and the field hasn't really spaced out that much in the space of the 11 laps that we've experienced. The top 5 all still very much within touching range of each other. If we see another incident like we saw just a couple of laps ago, there is Pyratella in P7. He would love a better result, as would that man Bandito, who has found his way past Van Panther. And Samwise still in P10 after incident earlier on. Elite Speedway P11, of course, the one man who did suffer from the Elite Speedway battle does not have damage to his car, we assume, and will just carry on racing. But such a big morale killer for him. He was going so well, and with the Macrox was just holding that inside line with such brilliance, and he really did look to have it secure, but it just wasn't to be his day. I said earlier about how those herbs on the chicane can be so punishing if you're not aware, because they just really do just take it out of you. As soon as one wheel hits there, the rest of the car just follows, and you go spinning over, and that's exactly what we saw just a few moments ago. So not too many laps to go now at all, and Samwise begins to try and reel in Van Panther now, be a realistic hope of getting himself one place higher. Of course, that's a little more few dollars in the prize wallet. So as we said then, Watkins Glen really is one of those circuits where it's all about consistency and endurance. You need to try and find that balance between speed and consistency, and the one man who's done that better than anyone is Pico Speed. We're also going to see finding the balance between overtaking and defending, attacking and defending, or if you will. So it's going to be very interesting to see just what Razor can do, because he's been on the path of trying to catch Jamie now for the past 5 or 6 laps or so, maybe even the entire race, but he's significantly closer over the past 5 laps. This trail really has been reeled in by now. You can see him just almost hacking away, pushing his way through, trying to really establish that authority behind the back of Jamie now. Let's see what he can do. Draku just in front of Jamie's actually caught him as well, so I think if we're lucky we could see a 3-way battle for the final podium position. And once you're in that kind of situation, your driving style really does change. You begin to become a bit more aggressive, you think outside the box, and you begin to take a little few more risks. So we're going to see just how much more momentum Razor has right now. How much further is he willing to try and push that Formula 3 car in order to try and get one of those podium positions? The gap is still over a second though. Jamie not willing to let this one budge without a fight. Of course, this will be the main spot for overtaking down this long straight. So the most crucial thing here for Razor is to really try and nail a move into the chicane. As we saw earlier with Matrock, is not the easiest thing in the world, and just look how much air the car got as he went over those curbs, and that has cost him big time as he takes a wider line coming out of the chicane and into the following corners. You can see now how much time he's actually lost already, and that's easily 3 seconds. Just what those curbs can do to you if you go over aggressive on them. And this corner he's going to come through now is definitely one of the most punishing, because it's such a weird bend in the way that you actually go downhill, you turn left and the car swoops in, and by the time you do that the car naturally wants to turn in the opposite direction. So it's been a good job there so far by holding it, but that loss of momentum is going to become apparent in his driving style, and I wonder if he picks it up or no, because this is now released Jamie and Draco to battle it out over that final podium position. 2 seconds separate them, and with only a few laps to go, I wonder if he can maybe get it done right now. He's looking like he could be the man to do the job, but the one man who is going to do the very good job is going to be Pico Speed. Lap 30 out of 15. He's in the lead. He's led from turn 1, and he's had it no other way. He's just done a sterling job so far. As you take a look at Jamie at the moment, of course, so these guys will be actually fighting, as you say, for that all-important $100, but it's not all over if you do come second, of course. So the man in second, who currently, well, to be streets away in front of Draku, will pick up a great $50 third place. Who's Draku, $25 fourth place. Who's currently Jamie 1 will get 15, but of course he really wants to try and pull him towards the end and really trying to attack Draku now sooner rather than later. Again, a bit of a lock up there, a bit of tyre smoke. So Draku really is on the offensive here. As you can see, just every corner now has a little bit of smoke following him, almost like a dust of blaze, if you will, as he tries to just pull away. That he's driving with haste at the moment. Again, he's got wide into there as well. He's feeling the pressure on the penultimate lap. The last thing you want to do is lose a great third place here on the final lap. And of course, these F3 cars do have poor drafting abilities just due to them being open wheeled. These are no stock cars. These are not meant for this sort of environment, if you will. They're not meant for bump drafting. So it is very hard to get some substantial slipstream, especially when you're running fixed setups. You really do rely on attacking pressure and relying on the other drivers to make a mistake. But in terms of just behind them, of course, 5th place will pick up a good $14, 6th place 30, and so on and forth, so on and so forth, all the way back to 10th to 15th place. You pick up $5 each. So still very, very worthy prizes. Some great drivers going to be sent this afternoon. As Jamie is just trying to attack Draku now. He's a good run out of that final corner as well, and you can see though he would love to try and get some drafting ability right now, but the track nature and the car just won't let him do it. 1 lap to go. It's a last chance saloon, if you pardon the pun, around Watkins Glen, and it's looking at the moment like Pico Speed has got this one signed, sealed, and delivered, but this is exactly what the viewers want. This is edge of the seat stuff right now as he just tries to reel him in. Razor has actually caught back up. He's not too far away at all. He's only 2 seconds away, so he's pulled out 3 seconds since that moment through the chicane. Just the next corner coming up. Jamie looks to the inside to get some clean air under that rear wing, realising he will not get substantial slipstream as they go through the chicane in towards the right-hander then. Let's see what he can do through here. I don't think he's going to have enough momentum this lap. It's going to be Driku has driven a fantastic race so far. This has not buckled to the sheer pressure which Jamie was applied, especially in these final couple of laps. And again, oh, he's done it there though. Every time I mention something, the commentator's curse has been very rich in this race this afternoon. Another lockup as Jamie will be the first man to capitalise on it, and the man who's going to try and do it with the most haste as well. Let's see what he can do here then. Down this long straight, coming towards the end of opportunities now. Every corner he doesn't try an overtaking move, every corner he doesn't get close enough is a move wasted. It's a corner closer to a 4th position, and more importantly, a corner closer to a 3rd position for Driku. We can see that yellow dot just a few seconds up the road. There he is, coming across the start-finish line and to win the first Sunday race-off is Pico Speed. He led from turn 1 and he's never looked back since. A great job there from Pro Drifter 10, who was 10 seconds down the road, and then come these guys, and it was Breaking who held off Jamie 1. So great job by those guys, those 3 following in quick succession, ready to rounding out the top 5. Strogefia comes in P6, a good job by him, consistent, clean, alone, and it's P6. Same here with Piratawa in P7, a great job there by him as well. Then we see the man Bandito P8, a place higher than we expected. Samwise got in front of Elite Speedway into P9, who rounded out the top 10, so Elite Speedway again getting himself in that top 10 there. Lolin Fox will come in P11 as we take a look at Elite Speedway rounding his final corner and coming down the home straight now, and I'm sure he'll be ecstatic with the top 10. You know, it's good morale for him as Lolin Fox also will follow in his footsteps and finish just outside. He would have hoped for a top 10, but it wasn't to be his day. He comes across the line, and now he's possibly the unluckiest man of the afternoon. If he'd have made that move stick at defensive manoeuvre, that would have been easily defensive manoeuvre of the afternoon. But a great job by him nonetheless. But well done to this man here, Pico Speed. An absolutely fantastic job out there today to lead from turn 1 to take a victory. Just never looked back since and never made a mistake. Absolutely brilliant job by him. You see Pico's car there. I'm sure there'll be a few fist bumps in his room right now, as you can see the chat, all the guys congratulating the race winner, and very rightly so. $100 he's with that drive, and I'm sure that drive was worthy of a few $100 more. That's one drive which is almost a champion's drive. You just lead from the start and never look back. Stamped his authority all over this Watkins Glen International Circuit. A fantastic job by him. So that's just about it from us here today from Sim Raceway and the first ever Sunday race-off. You can join us next week for a very similar event. I've been Liam Jenkins, and I've been your commentator for all of this evening's action. I hope you've enjoyed it. I'm sure we'll see you on the racetrack very soon at Sim Raceway. But from me, it's goodbye for now.